Hey everybody, welcome to the Random Encounters Guild. Tonight we're playing Blades in the Dark. My name is James. I will be your GM today. Shout out to Scott for being our stream master and running some sound over on Sirenscape. Shout out to Sirenscape for that. Today we're joined by we're joined by one new person. So let's just go around. I'll start with you, Chad. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Chad. Been a member of the Random Encounters Guild for, I guess, a year or so at this point. Done a few podcasts and a little bit of streaming, and well, here I am again. I'm playing Benny Carver Templeton the Cutter.
Great, thank you, Lucas.
I'm Lucas Fabulonis. I don't know why I said my last name, but it's there now. Um, I'm a relatively new member of the Random Encounters Guild, mainly playing Blaze in the Dark, and I'm playing Arvis Keel, who's a whisper, someone who speaks and interacts with the dead as well as the living.
Thank you, Ned. Welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. I've been with the guild for probably about 6 months now. We just finished the Ragnarborg um quest line, and then I decided to join in on this one. I will be playing Professor Edmund Thornsbury. He is a hound. Um, he's a academic professor, ex-military.
What do we call you for short, Ned?
Yeah, what's your
Edmund.
alias?
You can call you can either call him Ed or Professor Thornsbury.
You got it. All right. You will probably earn your nickname. All right, I'm ready. Jenna.
Hi, I'm Jenna. You've probably seen me around.
My alias is TikTok.
Oh, sorry, your alias is what?
TikTok,
Oh,
because he
okay.
constantly looks at his watch.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I run this game sometimes. I'm gonna be a player tonight. I'm playing Volette Moonstone. She's a spider, and some people know her as Looney Mooney because she can be a little bit, well, you know, interesting. Who hasn't gone?
That's it. You are it. So I'm gonna forego the warm up improv. I have something that we're gonna do just sort of in game. Um, Dungeon Dudes dropped a hot take that like you don't play in a game that does not don't play at a table that doesn't have a session zero. And Jenna fortunately put together some really awesome really awesome consent document in Google that we all had access to. So real quick, I got to do it every game. Cats, concept, aim, tone, and safety. Concept, Blades in the Dark is like a heist-based game. You're in a haunted Victorian city surrounded by walls of lightning powered by demon blood. It's always nighttime. The land of the dead, the veil between uh, life and the afterlife has been shattered. The sun is in splintered in a whole bunch of different pieces, and it's and the moon has like these sort of uh, silhouettes of itself, like multiple. They call them the dimmer sisters of the moon. Also, what folks added last week: lots of criminal activity, very dystopian. Um, my chief aim is to have fun. Other players contributed, see what happens, play to find out. Um, Want to have maybe some social interactions and some chaos. Tone, I wrote dark and spooky. Previous games have gone occult. Of course, we're going to have some silliness and jokes, as Jenna says, down to clown. Safety, things that we decided collectively, and also like in my games, I'm very strong about. There's not going to be any rape, racism, sexism, homophobia, violence against children, which is going to include miscarriages or abortions. no sex romance, PC on PC romance. We just take it off the table. That way, nobody ever has to wonder if that's ever going to come up. No harm to animals. We do have like abuses like a yellow, so we got to tread carefully on that. Uh, Ned, do you have anything that you want to add to any of those? You played a couple of times at my table.
No, pretty much the same stuff that we went through at our table.
Okay, great. Good. All right. Yeah, just remember to be courteous and have a good time. Who wants, so one thing that we did in between games is we went through the downtime phase in Blades in the Dark. And also at the end of every session, we have experience points. And I think that it's a very important part of Blades in the Dark and play. There is some good to be gleaned from doing it in an actual session. However, I'm just going to put one person on the spot. I'll start with you, Jenna. Do you remember your XP triggers or have them in front of you? Can you read
I
them
have
for
them
us?
right in front of me. I address a challenge with calculation or conspiracy. In Valette's case, it's usually conspiracy because she's very together, focused. That's the con in conspiracy. It means together with. I express my beliefs, drives, heritage, or background, and struggle with issues from my vice or traumas during this session. I don't believe any of us have any traumas yet because this is a very new game. So that's your job, James. Trauma
Gotcha.
type.
And do you remember what your pitch was for how many XP you got for each one?
I definitely expressed my heritage and beliefs. She's very big into her family. That comes up a lot. It came up at the restaurant, and with knowing the cook and just how she is around everything, she wasn't freaked out in the dark because she's used to the coal mines. It kind of is her character. I did not struggle with issues from my vice or traumas. I don't have trauma. And I did address a challenge with conspiracy because I did a group move with, I think it was Benny, that Benny and I kind of did a switcheroo with, I'll distract him, you grab the bottle, we'll push him over, the last guy at the end.
Yep. And you definitely used the flashback mechanic like in accordance with like a spider. And then usually what happens is like at the table, then when we go through each one, everybody at the table gets to chime in and be like, oh, but there was also that other thing you did. And then suddenly you've gone from one experience point to two experience points. And the same thing goes with like the crew experience. People can kind of argue about that. Well, we did do that thing and we did do that. And there was also that. It's less, Blades in the Dark is less of a game of the GM decides who gets experience and how much. The players decide, and the GM is just sort of maybe like the final arbiter. And there's more power put into the players on that. So that being said, all four of y'all take a look at your XP triggers, your heritage, your background. Drives and beliefs are not part of character creation. That's something that just you kind of got to come up with on your own. So be looking at ways to leverage those. I had to talk with Dan a little bit offline, and I said, when it comes time for you to use technical ingenuity and you're in a situation where you're using technical ingenuity, that's when you call for a flashback. So if there's something that is on that sheet that you don't think is going to be a part of the scenario, maybe there's a flashback in there somewhere. So leverage that. That's the min-maxing metagaming that I like to see in Blades in the Dark. Leverage those backgrounds because that's RP.
Dan's actually a great example because he built his character to be very self-serving and cowardly. So that is a drive for him. I don't remember what Dan's character's name is, but he puts himself first. So he did express that when there was, I think one of the lampblacks was going to hit him and he hid behind me. Like, that's a character trait that Dan put into his character. So you can do stuff like that too. But anyway, I believe other than me, everybody else already did their downtime in the downtime thing. I rolled for my vice already. I still have one downtime activity left, and I wanted to go ahead and save it because I wasn't sure what kind of score we were going to put on. So I was, if it's if it's something that we might need a cool thing for, I will try and acquire an asset. But if it's not something we're going to need a cool thing for, then I'm just going to train and we can like get straight into it. So, James, you said you had an idea for a score.
I do. I was so, and as far as like, and the other thing that happens, let me just make sure that I went through your, where did I put it? So payoff, we decided you got 8 coin. You paid 2 to Trent to get the luxury fence claim on the smuggler character sheet. You paid 1 coin to the gondoliers to keep them from being mad at you for causing all that trouble on that turf. Between Valentine's Day tamping thing activity, making your chaos a little less visible. And then Jenna took a devil's bargain last game, so we had +5 heat. That puts you guys on the wanted level. Did you guys want it, Jenna? Did you want to roll? And then so you just roll 1d6 and you tell me what it is, and then I look it up.
Oh, for entanglements?
Yeah.
Oh no, I rolled with the bot in downtime, so because it does everything for you. So we can either do gang trouble or the usual suspects.
Gang trouble or the usual suspects. Let me get to them. 150. Gang trouble. One of your gangs or other cohorts causes trouble due to their flaws. You can lose space, forfeit rep equal to your tier +1. Make an example of one of the gang members. Oh, we didn't do rep. You're supposed to get some rep. Make an example of one of your gang members or face reprisals from the wronged party. And then the usual suspects is the blue coats grab someone in the periphery of your crew. One player volunteers a friend or vice purveyor as the person most likely to be taken. Make a fortune roll to find out if they resist questioning. Or pay the blue coats off with 1 coin. That to me makes less sense than gang trouble because the blue coats kind of have their hands full with the Valentine's Day festivities, and also they're put in a position where they need to help the spirit wardens and the Sparkrights keep the ghosts from coming out of the wall. Bear with me 1 second. I gotta hop away from my desk and grab this.
We have not established cohorts. So it might be that this is something that we worry about later.
Yep.
And we'll deal with it right now because we have a limited time on stream.
Yes. That so as far as your rep goes, you guys did get, I think you're going to get 4 rep. And but let me just make sure that I don't blow it. 2 rep per score plus 1 rep per tier higher because you guys you guys were dealing with a tier 2 faction, whether you're thinking about the Crimson Claw or the Lamp Blacks. In either case, they're both tier 2. So you've got 4 extra rep on your crew sheet. And when you get more rep, then you pay some coin, you go up in tier, and then all your fortune rolls get better. That's kind of how that works. So we had some folks trying to recover with tier 0 doctors, and that was kind of rough. So great. So I saw somebody talked about moving elephants. Does anybody have anything that's pressing in terms of their things they want to take care of as a score? Or do you want to hear my pitch?
We can definitely hear your pitch. I didn't hear anybody else had any ideas. So if it's not your pitch, we can do one of the ones on the crew sheet, and I can.
That's true. We've got cards. So the Red Sashes have noticed a couple of they're not dumb. They've spotted like a couple. They've been watching a little bit from the sidelines. Something that's in the Blades in the Dark core book for GMs that need like a little kickstart to get a campaign going. There's something called the starting situation, which is like kind of like the first scene of sorts. And in the starting situation, one of the one of the bosses in a group calling themselves the Crows has died, and so now there's a power play in Crowsfoot between the Red Sashes and the Lampblacks. And these Red Sashes are seeing you guys giving the Lampblacks kind of a run for their money, and they send a representative that they want you to smuggle some kind of dastardly item into one of the Lampblacks' turf or holdings to cause some trouble. And they'll pay you for it, and because they are busy. So what's going on is the Leviathan hunting season is just about to start. It's the last night before, or actually it's the first night. The first batch of ships have gone out. So all the Leviathan hunters are gone, are out at sea to like go and get some more. But it's it's the weakest night of the year for the lightning barrier, and you guys are seeing like some of these eerie green streaks of lightning outside the city. There are the Sparkrites, the Blue Coats, even like some of the red sashes that are like a little more socially accepted in society. People are being called in to help fight off some of these extra ghosts that are making their way, and even demons that are making their way past the walls of lightning. So the Red Sashes think now is like the best time for you guys to sneak in there and drop off a little present for the Lampblacks to tear them up and help the Red Sashes like turn the tide of the war and win over Crowsfoot. The disadvantage to that is the Lampblacks will hate you for it, and that will put you at war with the Lampblacks. So the offer from the Red Sashes is on the table.
I'm going to be honest. The Lampblacks are total assholes. However, I'm not interested in going to war with other common people. There are so many bigger and better and more important things that we should be fighting about with the upper class that this is a distraction.
I mean, you're not wrong, V, but it's a distraction we can remove.
Have you ever been at war, Carver?
Yes.
It's not the kind of distraction that goes away quickly. That's all I'm going to say. What I think that we should be doing is better mobilizing ourselves. If you remember, at this moment, we're kind of doing almost a flashback situation with our current scores. So right now, our lair, which is a boat, the Raven's Nest, is currently in use by other members until I can finish off the score, basically. Other players in our crew. So that's background for everybody watching. We don't have the boat right now because the Hawk took it for something. Who even knows? That's what the problem that we should be focusing on. We should get ourselves some sort of fleet. We need more mobility.
I'm not arguing with that, but I suspect if we don't strike first, they will. But I'll spill the claret either way.
There is also a way to smooth things over with the Lampblacks and kind of make some amends to what they to like the stuff. You can sort of like, hey guys, it's just business, and do some scores for the Lampblacks. But it sounds like what I'm hearing from V is and if I look at when you play smugglers, and let's remember, when you play smugglers, you earn XP when you execute a smuggling operation or acquire new clients or contraband sources. If you guys wanted to go and procure some kind of something to help you guys get around town.
Okay, I'm not gonna do the voice. This will be out of character. In character, that's what Violette wants. Out of character, I don't mind. But she's very much like, why are we fighting the people we should be fighting with? Is her. So what I was talking about on our character sheet is the fleet thing, and then our cohorts would have their own vehicles. We haven't actually established cohorts for our gang, so doing that would kind of be a punch if we would get some mooks, and our mooks would get vehicles. That seems like it could be helpful. Another thing, though, is that on our vacuum clock, we're at 2 out of 8. We are low on vacuum, and kind of spooky nonsense is what we usually trade in, and we are getting high on our own supply. So we're low on spooky nonsense. It might be helpful to get a new purveyor. I don't know if that counts as a new vice purveyor or just a new contact for this contraband, but it would probably be good for us if we get somebody new who we can get vacuum from.
Why don't we kill 2 little birds with 1 stone then? We got rivals. We got a few other people sailing the canals. The Lampblacks are one of them, but the Foghounds, some of the other folks with boats, they run vacuum. We need a boat. We need vacuum.
There is also a way you could probably figure. You guys are creative enough that you could
try and take
turn this Red Sashes Lampblacks thing upside down in your favor.
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter right now that they're fighting, other than the fact that the Lampblacks are focused elsewhere, and that means I don't have to care about them. However, you do make a very appealing point about using the kerfuffle for our own purposes. I like the idea of ships. I personally don't care about the vacuum, but money is money. Ships and money do sound rather nice.
I mean, where the ships, there's usually something valuable in them. People such as us, we tend to run with such valuable things. Yeah?
For a while, but really it's not even that they have valuable things in them so much as they don't look like they're ours at first. We have a bit of heat on us at the moment, so if we're running at least for a while with someone else's ships, then it won't look like we're the ones doing things.
Agreed.
I tell you this,
while opening it up to the table, what does everyone else think?
While the Bluecoats are off, like kind of fighting some of these ghosts that are breaking their way through the lightning barrier, they do. I'm going to say they do have some of their own little boats that they use, like to traverse through the canals that they're not using. I don't think I'm going to be able to resist calling them clue boats, but they do have some kind of transport that are probably like parked in some kind of dock somewhere that you guys can dig around for.
Well, if we can Jenna, you've got me doing your accent all of a sudden.
I'm sorry, I know. It's just so easy to start and very difficult to stop.
Well, if we can snatch something official, it'd be that much easier to run something past the patrols for a little while.
I'm not opposed for us getting some more boats or modes of transportation. Our crew seems to be a little bit larger than we started with, and so having multiple methods of movement may be a good idea.
So you mean something on land rather than ship?
Possibly. Getting a land vehicle rather than a yet another boat. Though if we do get another boat, something smaller than what we currently have would be an idea.
Yeah. We would say they're probably the blue coats probably roll around in little two-person patrol rafts.
Dinghies.
Right now, the size of the target's irrelevant until we actually find the target, isn't it?
Well, we'll presume that you found the target. When you guys decide
Yeah,
that you found it, we're not going to call for a
yeah.
roll for any of that.
No, that's a Benny thing.
Oh, sorry.
Benny is perfect. Benny is perfectly happy to off blue coats for a small boat or a large boat or a Klondike bar, whatever.
Yeah.
That's very reasonable. However, that's not going to give us less heat when we use the boats.
You can forfeit rep for less heat.
I mean, we could also work on the boats during downtime to make them not as obviously the blue coat boats.
No matter what score you do, you're going to frustrate some faction.
We're gonna annoy somebody when we take them, but I mean, we can also not make them as obvious that where we got them from the next time we use them.
Yeah, and those are mechanics that you can do after the fact.
Yeah.
So it's really at this point you need to just decide what do you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, Benny is going to advocate for either striking at the Lamp Blacks before they can strike at us, or going with Violette's plan of finding additional transport and possibly something we can sell along the way.
The Lamp
If you can
Blacks
turn
would
that
not
against the Lamp Blacks at the same
probably-
time,
Yeah. The Lamp Blacks probably wouldn't have boats, but they probably would have carriages for their cohorts. So what we could say is this score is not necessarily stealing their carriages and cohorts, but like it could be a social thing that we're trying to convince their cohorts to just come work for us instead, and then we get their carriages along with them. But we could also do the big bomb surprise present thing or whatever and use that as like an intimidation tactic. Like, come work for us or this happens to you too.
Or we could use it as a distraction to take the vehicle and aim for that. And if there's cohorts, we take them. I don't know how to say this. But we aim for the vehicle, and we can use the smuggling operation as a bonus or a distraction.
well, how about this? The Lamp Blacks are already ticked at us. We need something to distract their attention. They're already at war with the Sashes.
That's pretty
Why
distracting.
don't we cause a little bit of a trouble with the Sashes on behalf of the Lamp Blacks? I'm sure they'd appreciate a little help, right?
I can't tell how far the subterfuge goes, Benny. Are you actually saying you want to improve our relationship with the Lamp Blacks, or are you saying we're going to double cross them?
I'm saying we kill a few Sashes, steal some of their goods, and pin it on the Blacks. The Lamp Blacks, that is.
Oh, that's interesting, because the Red Sashes trust us enough that we could go get a meeting with them to go pick up whatever thing it is we're supposed to use, and then if we use it on them instead, they'll never see it coming.
Just a thought. You're the brains of the operation, you tell me.
Benny, you're far too devious for your own good.
I got my moments.
If you want to know what I actually think, this whole war between the two of them started because there's a leadership vacuum in the Crows, which means if we take out two other gangs, then there will be 3 leadership vacuums, and everything will be in chaos, and that just sounds, it makes me tired. So I think that since the Lamp Blacks are already assholes, we should just go after them and leave the Red Sashes be. We don't have many friends. It's nice to have a few. And then, also, if we fail, it's just the same crew that's after us and not both of them.
Fair. I imagine we might be able to, if we need it, parlay a little bit of help from the gondoliers. I can't imagine they're too keen on the Lampblacks having tried to scramble Holtz's brains. Well,
No,
what
I
he's
would
got
never.
left. And Little Bird, I've heard a few times from Little Bird saying that Lampblacks still stash some of the oil they used to use. That stuff's might be valuable.
So
It's very flammable.
And suddenly your little arsonist heart picks up.
let me see if I understand what that. So now what's the plan? Not the plan, but what's the gig?
The same thing we were trying to do before. Sorry, Benny and I have been haggling basically. That we are going to take the Red Sashes up on their offer because hey, free real estate. To bring whatever that little present is to the Lampblacks. And in whatever devastation that causes, because I don't actually know what the thing is,
Gotcha.
we are going to take, command, persuade, threaten, whatever, the Lampblacks cohorts.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And I actually
the fleet one, but like in game, we're still getting the faction game going, which is what we wanted.
I like that. Okay. So, and it also sounds like there might be a flashback in there for you to do some social engagement with some of the cohorts. So be kind of thinking of like how that goes. So what we do, you're going to get an engagement roll. So is there so you get +1 just for luck. I'm going to give you a +1 because there's other stuff going on in the city and it's going to be a little easier for you to kind of skulk around. Do you have anything else that, although that +1 is going to be negated by the fact that the Lampblacks already hate you, so or strongly opposed. So do you have any other dice that you could add to the situation? Are you using a contact or a resource? Jenna, you have your +1 for your.
I do. If it's when I use consort on the gather information. So it seems to me like the most reasonable and obvious way to use that is the consort gather information roll is just going to the Red Sashes and agreeing to do the job and getting the thing that they want us to deliver. Like that seems pretty clear.
Okay. And I think you're going to make more than one consort roll in this score anyway. So we'll give you that extra +1. So, all right. So you're at 2d6. Anything else that anybody feels like will improve your situation, improve your position in this score?
I mean, Benny is more than happy to coerce anyone that he needs to using command with, threats of being fed to the things that swim in the canals if they don't comply.
Okay.
As you have said before, the Lampblacks and the Red Sashes are fighting, and I believe that gives a disadvantage to them. I think we get a die for that because they're, like you said, they're distracted.
Okay. I'll give you one for both of them. Okay. All right. I'll take that. And bear in mind, and that sounds kind of cool, the idea of having Benny going to Benny might even be able to go on that flashback with you. So just whenever that happens. And Ned, being the Hound, do you have your character sheet in front of you? Can you tell us what your number 1 XP trigger is that makes you special?
Let's see.
It's about 2/3 of the way down on Mark XP.
Yeah, sorry. I just pulled up, so while Ned is looking for that. Boulder
You
Darren.
address the challenge of tracking or violence?
Tracking or violence. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about that. We always do violence.
We'll see. Then that's the other thing is, that's kind of on you to also, in the event, if there's tracking, like all like the setup and prep and the casing the joint and all that stuff. We're going to do that in the middle of a flashback. All you have to remember is like, oh yeah, I had something for this. This was part of the plan. Jenna, what were you going to say?
Oh, I pulled up the engagement roll stats in the book. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? I would say yes. For one, we don't know exactly what it is we're delivering, but for another, if this doesn't go well, like if we don't properly wipe them all the way out and take their stuff, we're going to be at war with them, and that's going to be a problem.
Right.
So I would say yes to bold and daring, which is 1d6. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? We haven't picked specifically the detail that's in the book, but that's what I was talking about, that they have enemies or rivals interfering in the operation. They do, not us. And then, can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight? We do have contacts providing aid. That's the red sashes. I don't know if you would count that, but...
Right. And there are elements, any other elements that you want to consider, and we went over that. So, okay, I have the vulnerability, I have the bolder daring, I have and then the +1 for just luck. I have 4 dice. Does that
you
sound
have my
good to you?
spider roll in there?
And your spider roll. Yeah,
Okay.
the engagement,
Which is
the
a
spider,
delicious sushi roll.
bolder daring. Yep. I have
right,
4. Let's see what happens.
Do you want me to roll it?
Yeah, you had your face kind of lit up. I think you need to.
Okay, so sorry, was that 4 or 5? I missed what you said at the end. 4. Okay.
Oh, physical dice. Did you crit?
I'm not sure if that's good or bad.
2 1s and 2 3s.
Oh,
so that means it's 3, but so it's not a like we all die, but 3 is not good.
That just means that the first roll of the score will be desperate. So you are it's really eerie, like the sky, like the electric blue lightning barriers that sort of like kind of illuminate the city, and especially since it's so cold, there's like all the snow everywhere that so there's this ghostly pale blue kind of that you're used to seeing in the wintertime, like that's like faded to this scary green lightning lightning storm that's outside in the Deadlands, and it's giving everything this unsettling sort of aqua tint to it. So you are skulking about. Who wants to tell me what the Lampblack's hideout looks like? We've determined there are carriages in there.
I picture it as being essentially the warehouse that when they were once upon a time the Lamplighters that they operated out of, a combination of stables and warehouse space for oil and tools. It's greasy. It's covered in years of soot and ash, and just has a very slight sort of burnt odor that sort of gives off into the surrounding air.
Gotcha. And you guys get to decide whenever you'd like what the hell is how are you getting this package? How big is it? How small is it? What's in it? I'll either decide when it comes out, or you decide when it comes out. So it could be tucked away somewhere. It could be on your person. So I think what's really going to be a surprise for you guys when it comes to getting into this sort of warehouse area is there are some ghost spectral wards with runes on them that you've never seen before that you have to get past.
Can I kind of like survey around that, and being academic, see if I can figure out how to bypass that.
Certainly. Yeah, if you want to make a survey roll.
Load.
Say that again. Oh, we got to do load. Okay, yeah, load out. Small. We'll start with you,
Normal.
Benny.
So, are we treating this as? Are we going to be relatively subtle, or are we treating this as a full-on assault?
Yeah. How are we approaching this? Because isn't that one of the parts of the engagement as well?
It is, and I don't particularly care for it because it's not useful to me mechanically. So if it's important to you, Lucas, I'm happy to hear you tell me what you think it is.
No, it's I didn't know if it determined experience or anything later on. That's why I was asking.
No.
And loadout also doesn't have anything mechanical in it, but it's more of like a mental picture. So the question is, Benny's question is inherently, how heavy do you guys want to go versus discreet?
Yeah, this to me feels like, if we're calling it either social or assault, it feels like assault to me. The point of attack is this thing that we have. And I would say this is one of those classic dead of night, you can hear the parties and fireworks and whatever going off around in the far background, and everything's a little bit tense, and we're trying to like sneak in fully undercover, not amongst normal people like some of our previous jobs have been. So
Given that, Benny's going to go heavy then.
Okay. Volette, what are you doing? Sorry, who was that that spoke?
Oh, don't worry about it.
I'm just going normal.
Normal. Okay. Arvis.
Normal.
Normal. Professor Ed. TikTok.
Normal.
Okay. All right. And Ned, you remember like scum and villainy, like just presume you packed exactly what you need and just check off like, oh, good thing I brought my whatever it is you need in the moment.
Right.
But yeah, I'm picturing this sort of like scene of like Benny getting like all suited up and holding things up to Volette, and Volette just giving the nod. Yes, bring it. Just back it on, buddy. So yeah, Ed, if you want to make that survey roll, it's gonna be desperate. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be desperate. Tell me where you're surveying from and why it's a survey and not a study.
Let me see. Look at my sheet real quick. Let's see. Give me a sense of if there would be any trouble either getting in or getting back out before it happens. Any opportunities or anything to exploit around the outside or from what I can see.
So where are you in relationship to this warehouse?
I'd probably be surveying either taking a nonchalant walk around or at a rooftop from another building.
Okay. All right. So give me that survey roll. Your position is desperate. We're going to call it standard effect.
Okay, so what I have 2 in survey.
If you're in roll 20, you just click the word
what would I
survey.
do? Oh, okay. And you said it was going to be risky or desperate?
Desperate.
Desperate.
And the effect is standard, limited, great, extreme, or zero.
Standard. And now to add die, you can take a devil's bargain. You can push yourself and add a die for the cost of 2 stress, or you can figure out a way if someone's willing to spend a stress to add a die, and you guys can justify how they're helping you.
Okay, well, I'm
That's
just
what-
starting, so I'll just spend a stress.
Okay,
And add
spend
a
2.
die.
You spend 2 stress if you want to add a die.
Right.
So then that's where what you put in the extra die field is you just add 1 extra die for stress. How'd it go?
Nice.
Uh, 3, 5, 6.
Okay, great.
Nice.
So yeah, that is great. Yeah, so you checked out you checked it out. What did you discover?
Well, it seems that the upper part of the building has like a few broken windows that either we could climb through, or there is a on the side of the building. It seems like one of the I assume it's like slats of like wood for the walls, and it seems to be kind of like more deteriorated in that area where we might be able to exploit it to get in or out.
Okay. All right. Cool. So there you did spot like through the side there is this sort of like, spirit. There is this sort of like warding magic over the place, but at the very least, the professor here has figured out that there are some broken windows that are pretty accessible. So now you really just kind of have to worry about the magical aspect. So, and there's broken windows, and then there's also some deteriorated parts of the building. Who wants to make the move
I would
to
like
get
to
you
use,
guys in there?
I want to know if I can use study, or I would like to use study on the runes itself to see if there's a way I can exploit them.
You can. And did you bring anything along that may help you?
As always, I have my fine spirit mask.
Okay.
I also have some arcane implements with me, but I'm going to be using my spirit mask to help me
Okay.
because it's
Your
fine.
your arcane implements might be kind of nice too. So yeah, so I'll take a study, and then but since it is a tier 2, ward, that automatically like just bumps the efficacy down to 0, but your spirit mask picks it up to limited. So I'm gonna make this reasonably simple, and we'll have like a 4 o'clock. So we're just gonna call it, well, we'll call it controlled because you have a little bit of, I'll say you have time to kind of look at it and check it out. So it's controlled, it's going to be limited. You can bump it up to risky and get standard effects. And if there's anything you can do to add, you can also push yourself to increase the effect, but you got to get 4 ticks on this clock to get past it. And right now, just this one roll will do 1. I gave you a lot of options. Do you need me to tell them to you again?
No, I'm looking at my character because I've had really poor downtime, so I'm racking up stress, and if I hit to a trauma, I'm out of the heist, aren't I?
Oh yeah, I should probably thank you for bringing that up. I personally, as a GM, unless anyone objects, and I'm happy to hear people shake their fist. When you fill up on stress, I don't like taking a player out of the table and making them just sit in timeout for the rest of the session. I just say it stays full. You can't spend stress, which means you can't add a die. You only can do devil's bargains, and you will get a trauma at the end. But you're still in it. You just can't add dice. You just, what you roll is what you roll, unless you take a devil's bargain, which I'm always happy to give out. So if no one objects to that.
There is, I believe, a mechanical punishment for not indulging your vice during downtime, but we can deal with that later during downtime. We don't need to deal with it right now. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine with me. Take your trauma, have your fun.
Yeah,
I
That's
mean,
true. So yeah. So you can spend it if you get full, but that's the last you're going to use. So
Now, I can also assist with the arcane implements.
oh, good. All right. So you can take a stress net, and that'll give you an extra die, Lucas, Arvis, if you'd like. But right now you're still working with limited effects. Do you want to do anything to boost that effect?
would him using the arcane implements help me boost my effect to standard?
You've gone up from 0 to limited with your arcane implements. Oh, gosh. Would Professor Edmund? I'm going to say no, that the implements are about as arcane as they get, and having doubled up on your arcanity would not boost the effect enough.
Okay.
You get the extra die for it though.
Okay.
So if you want, you can bump it up to risky, which would make your consequence a little more severe if you want more effect, or you can just suffer through and try and see if you can beat your way through this ward with multiple rolls. And you could also crit. You can crit and take more on the clock if you're lucky.
I'm gonna stick with controlled.
Okay. All right. Give me that roll.
Give me a sec. So limited effect, you said?
Mm-hmm. Limited controlled.
And I get 2 bonus dice, one for my mask and one for the arcane implements from him, or no?
Just one from Ned helping you.
Okay, so the mask does nothing?
The mask boosts your effect. It's what got you from 0
okay.
effect to 1.
I got a 5, 6, 4, so the 6 would be what it takes.
Great. So you're tinkering away, and you're like, "Oh, I kind of know what this is. What is the spooky? I don't know. What we haven't even decided what this thing looks like. Like, what is the interface for you to break down this magical ward?"
I'm imagining it is kind of like a veil that runs across the walls, where it's you can't see it, but when dust or anything hits it, it kind of like reverberates across the surface like a ripple on a water. And I'm kind of like when I'm touching it, kind of symbols are appearing where my fingers touch.
Yeah.
And briefly images will kind of flicker across the surface as if something is being affected by me touching it, but without bringing together an entire picture at once.
Wow, that's cool. And what does it what does it do? Like, so while you're touching it, like these symbols are. I love that. That's really cool engagement with the setting, and so I'm going to give you guys a gambit, which Ned, you may remember from Scum and Villainy, is like just a pool of extra dice that you can pull from. So I gave one for Dan's really groovy adding addition to the setting last time, and I'll give you one for this one, Lucas, because that's really, really cool. So yeah,
so you're personal, or are they for the crew?
For the crew. We'll just put them in we'll just put them in a pile. Thank you, Jenna. So while Lucas and the professor are tinkering with that, Benny and Volette, what are you guys doing? Are you guys doing anything, or do you want to? I want to give you guys some chance to the spotlight. Do we want to do a flashback to something?
I imagine we should be picking up our package. You think?
I feel like picking up the package probably happened as, like I said, that was like part of the engagement roll consort, so I can roll for it, but I don't think we need to spend like too much time on it, I would think.
Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to do? Yeah, we can get that consort roll. Is there anything else you want to get besides just like you're going to get the package anyway? I wouldn't call for a roll for that. Is there something you want to leverage as a spider that you want to leverage in this situation?
First off, I do think Benny is with me for this one. This is totally a flashback. It's not happening at the same time as this door situation. But Benny and I are there, and I think there's like a montage where like sitting at the table in the Red Sash's like, I don't know, like headquarters or some bar they own.
Opium den.
And we're like going back and forth and negotiating, right? But basically, what I'm trying to say, really, is that if you want us to give them this thing, there should be some sort of way that we can actually make sure that we get it to them exactly where you want it and not get picked up and distracted somewhere else. So, here's the day, here's the time. Make a move over here. And I am setting it up. This is my consort roll with the Red Sashes that they're going to start trouble somewhere else in the Lampblack territory in a different spot than where we are. And that is part of the reason why there's time for this absolute nonsense happening with this door right now without any guards around.
Right. Yeah. I love it. So that's what, and I'm going to say that there might be this sort of temporary ceasefire of sorts while folks are battling, like that, kind of like keeping the lightning barriers strong for just one more night before they get back with more demon blood, like hoping that the Leviathan hunters bring back some. They usually do. That first night's usually pretty good because everybody's rested. So yeah, but that is a great time for at an opportune moment, the Red Sashes out there fighting ghosts or whatever and using their spirit bottles or whatever will turn on a neighboring Lampblack and reinvigorate the war. So yeah, that's great. Give me that consort roll. And what we'll do is we'll let that boost some effect on another roll.
Okay. So I'm just going to do my 2d6, which is the same d6s that failed us before. What's the Devil's Bargain look like? I need some XP.
The Devil's Bargain is
before you take the Devil's Bargain, can Benny pull a stress to assist by pointing out probable targets that they can hit while the Lampblacks are distracted by
like
the
part of the flash? Yeah, there you go. So you're helping?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, spend a stress and add that dice. I think the Devil's Bargain needs to be. I think the Devil's Bargain needs to be. You can never open the box. That seems to be like.
Valette is so entirely fine with that.
Okay. So yeah, take an
I
extra.
wasn't going to open it anyway. This is literally none of my business.
Take an extra. Yeah, take it.
The box is something he doesn't want to mess with anyway.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's juicy to some other
Hearing
people,
so many dice.
I was moving the dice that were out of my dice tray. Sorry. Now I'm gonna roll
it.
If you don't own an absolutely ridiculous number of
Double sixes.
Nice.
Nice.
So we're gonna call this, and I didn't give you a position, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna call this like an extra 3 effects in the kitty for like not having people around. So that's technically a setup roll in Blades in the Dark, but like as a flashback, this is fun. But yeah,
perfect, because the next thing that was going to happen was I was thinking that we were going to have to flash back to me and Benny getting rid of the guards that were here while they were surveying. So now it's like we kind of handled it all together.
Oh yeah, do you want to have like a little Benny? Do you want to have like a little flashback of you like getting the drop on some of these dudes?
No, we can handle it.
People.
We can handle it for the moment.
Okay. All right. So Arvis, you're starting this veil is starting to make a little bit more sense, and your monocle is showing you know to go. Do you want to make some other kind of roll to see if you can open it up?
Since, yes, I'll let you roll for a tune.
Okay. I will totally take an attune roll for that. I'm going to call it risky at this point because that level of like connection is going to sort of like psychically expose you to nearby nefarious forces or potentially connect to any of the lamp blacks. So we'll call it risky. It's still the spirit ward, so it's still a tier 2 ward, so we're still gonna bump it down to 0 effect, but you have your fine spirit mask and your fine tools, so you're behaving like a tier 1 whisper, so limited effect. So risky, limited effect. Would you like to add dice? Professor, you're there. You can also spend stress and add dice, or take a devil's bargain.
Can I take a devil's bargain?
Yes. I'm going to say that connecting to the veil will connect you to the box.
Okay.
That
As
you
in,
will
like,
be.
I can detect where it is, and it can detect where I am, or what?
Yeah, there's going to be. It's sort of going to be a psychic, spectral hodgepodge.
And then you're going to want to open it, and then Benny's going to cut your hands off.
It's going. It's yeah. It's just.
Hey, I didn't make any deals.
Whatever ugliness comes up in the story, you're gonna you by connecting with that veil, you will connect with the box, and you may hear things, you may see things. There may be a box. I'm
used to seeing things. My vice is Black Lotus.
I have a pretty decent idea what Benny thinks is in the box, and yes, he will absolutely cut your hands off.
So yeah, you can take it or leave it. If you take it, pass fail, it still happens. If you take that extra die, or you can just leave that die on the table.
Can I take it to improve my effectiveness?
I think devil's bargains can change effectiveness.
You can push yourself to change effectiveness, and I don't think so, but I am going to say that yes, since you ask, I'll let it happen, and we'll look at it when we take a break.
Okay.
Which should be.
So I'll give you an effectiveness, so that'll bring you up to, and don't forget, you've also got some extra effect in the kitty from Volette's roll that you could be more effective because some of the lamp blacks are distracted. So you've got 3 ticks to hit. If you pass this roll, you'll tick 2. You can take one of those. You can also trade position for effect and make it a desperate roll and get more effect.
Okay, I'll do the desperate rather than the devil's bargain.
Gotcha. So you'll do the. Oh
wait, can I go to controlled since I'm going from risky?
You would go to desperate.
So I'm dropping 2 down. I'm on risky. I'm going to be dropping down 2 slots.
If you would go, if you went from risky to desperate, then you would get +1 effect. So then you would be dealing with 1, 2 effect, and if you take the devil's bargain, you could take 3 effect and get the whole roll done.
I kind of need the experience, so I'm going to go desperate roll. But
yes,
I don't think I'm going to devil's bargain it.
Okay, all right. So you've gone desperate,
no, that would be standard effect, right?
You'll be standard effect.
Okay. And then I get 1 bonus dice for my spirit mask.
Yep, and it's desperate. 1. Oh no, you don't get a bonus dice for your spirit mask. Your spirit mask just gives you the extra effect. Ned, are you gonna spend a stress to give Arvis over here another die?
What exactly is he doing?
He's still trying to crack that spirit wall. The veil.
Okay.
The shimmery.
Yeah,
curtain.
I'll spend another.
Okay. All right. You got your pool there, Lucas?
So yeah, I plus one, and so I'm rolling 3 total. I got a crit.
Whoa!
I have 6, 5, 6.
All right. Tell me how you just like pop that thing. Well, yeah. So Ned, tell me how you're helping. Professor Ed, tell me how you're helping, and then Arvis, you tell us how you break it open.
Through my studies and everything, I'm like going through these documents that I carry and explaining different ways for it to be done, and the cautionary spots to look out for.
Okay. Great. Now, Arvis, tell me how that. Tell me how. Tell me what it looks like. You like popping that.
I'm going to say that while kind of pressing it together, it doesn't flash bright or anything, but the shimmers that from when dust hit them change from like a pale green to like a pale blue, and my fingers visibly sink through it as if to touch the wall behind it. So it is not preventing anything anymore. It's still there, but it's not preventing anything.
Right.
So it appears to still be there, but it's not doing anything.
Right. Yeah. Preserved the lock. So before we take a break, I want one of our players to tell us how are you guys getting in? Are you climbing in through the broken window, or are you pulling some of these boards apart, or are you just going to try and pop through the front door?
Should we need it, I may or may not have a climbing kit on me.
Well, we could. That is neither here nor there. I feel like if you've done all this with all this arcane lock, we might as well just go through it, so it's not a waste.
So we just kind of walk in through the back door.
Great. You're gonna and it's probably more like a loading, like next to a loading dock or something that empties out, like one out into the street, one out into the canals, and you open in there, the lights are on, and we'll decide what you guys see when you open the door after the break. So let's take 5. Everybody get a drink of water or what have you, and we'll see what happens. And we're back. So you guys just kind of went through the front door, or not the front door, but maybe a side door, whatever, the warehouse door. I'm going to say Dosfall's kind of dangerous and that it's probably like a reasonably simple lock. How are you guys going to get through it? How are you guys going to get through this door?
Well, absent anybody who can do it more subtly, Benny will, assuming everyone's ready, Benny will just kick it in. But if somebody wants to try to do it more subtly, welcome to.
All right, kicking it in. What's the
That's going to be Wreck.
Okay. All right. I think you're just risky against that door. And as much as I would like to complicate it by being like a tier 2 door, I just want this one roll to just see what happens.
Okay.
Sorry, real quick. How are we?
Benny's kicking in the door. The door is locked. It's Duskwall. Like it's going to be locked. People lock their doors.
Standard effect, I presume.
Okay. Yeah. It's just going to be you kick it open or you don't.
Yeah. Okay. It's 5 and a 6.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain.
Nice. All right. Yeah. You blow that door open, and I'm going to borrow a little bit out of. I'm a big fate person, so I have a little index card here called Lamp Black Warehouse, and we're just going to write down all the different things that are in the scene. So Lamp Black Warehouse, we definitely have carriages. We don't know how many. Lucas, what do you think we have in this Lamp Black Warehouse? What do you see in your mind's eye?
Some like long lamp lighting hooks, but not the ones that are electrically charged, but the oil ones.
Yeah, oil lamp lighting hooks. Yeah. And probably, some gear, like some boots and some suits and stuff, but like, oil lamp lighting tools, hooks. Gianna, what have you got for me? What do you think is in that Lamp Black Warehouse?
Well, I think there are some barrels of the lamp lighting oil, because then I might have some trouble with my vice.
There you go, barrels of oil. What is your vice, by the way?
My vice is obligation. It is to my family, but they are Skovland revolutionaries.
Oh, that's right.
Also to the cause.
That's great. Yeah. So a lot of oil. Ned, what do you see inside the Lamp Black Warehouse?
Well, I see a wall of bales of hay for the horses that would be pulling the carriage.
Right, or rather the goats, because everything's pulled by goats in Duskwall. So yes, and the goats they eat hay and alfalfa.
They'll eat about anything.
Bags of grain.
Yeah. Wall of hay, grain. Yeah, which is How do we talked about how there's no sunlight and like how does that but there's bioluminescence.
Shut up! Don't think about it.
Yeah,
there are radiant energy.
When it's inconvenient for the players. That's the rules. If we're just sitting around having whiskey, we're allowed to have whiskey. You don't ask where the barley comes from.
Right.
To expensive radiant energy.
Right. I mean, and there's. Go ahead, Lucas.
They do mention having barley fields that they talk about being able to produce enough grain to feed the entire noble community for 3 meals a day in the lore or whatever, in the actual book. So we can assume that they have some way of growing plants.
There are solar farms. Scott's character is potentially going to... Scott's character actually has a hook that we might make a contact with one of those solar farms to see if we can get powdered milk for his coffee.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's certain... I want to say it's animals that have been bioluminescently engineered or something, or maybe mushrooms, something like that.
And
something
plants.
has been engineered to give off the full spectrum light. It's dim, but it's enough. But mostly you just say, "Shut up! It doesn't matter."
A techno wizard did it. There you go.
Right. The answer, as Xena says, the answer is wizards. All right, Benny, what do you think is in this Blant Black warehouse?
I'm picturing it as, since she beat me to the barrels of oil. But yeah, I'm picturing it.
More barrels of oil.
Yeah, but I'm picturing it as being dimmer than you would expect, being the lamplighters, as they never actually moved to using sparkworks to light the place, and it's still mostly using oil lamps. And so there's oil lamps arranged like every so often on the walls, and they're soot stained and tar stains all around these barrels of oil that have been sitting there long enough that they're black, where the oil is soaked into the wood.
Yeah. Oh, black
That's good,
barrels.
dude. That's real
I
good.
love it. I love it.
That makes total sense that they would not have switched it up. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like maybe just a solitary candle on the middle of a table, and two, I don't know, we'll just say like two dudes with like dirty mustaches, like playing cards, and they see you guys come in, and they immediately like turn the table to the side. One of them's got a musket, the other one like has some kind of rifle just hanging out there. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yes, I would like to prowl about that. I am kind of small and off to the side and not the one who kicked the door in, so I want to come in sneaky like around the outside edges.
While they're looking at Benny.
Yeah. This is something that Benny and I do all the time. We just, it's the synergy.
He's the kicker.
Sometimes
and you're the sneaker.
I'm the distraction. Sometimes he's the distraction. But we're buds. Anyway, I happen to have throwing knives, so I would like to prowl around in the dark and then throw some throwing knives about this guard problem. Preferably before they continue with their small ruckus.
Okay. I will let you make that roll in combination as sneaking and also putting some hurt on some lamp blacks. There's only two of them. But I'm going to call it risky, limited effect. And so you might only ding them unless you also have some of your setup maneuver from your consort setup roll. You've also got 2 extra dice in the gambit pool, and you can take a help. You can take a devil's bargain. You can push yourself. You can trade position for effect and go desperate.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and call it. Let's trade it and let's call it desperate, because 1, I want XP, but 2, it kind of makes sense because what I'm saying is, I'm gonna end up being the first one through the door, hoping that they're not looking at me, that they're looking at Benny. So it makes sense that would be desperate. Like, but once I'm through the door, being in the dark is kind of in the clear. But like, do you get through the door?
Yeah.
The real BBEG of all games, the door. So that makes sense to me. I will absolutely take that as a desperate roll.
Okay.
And
so
prowl, I have 2 dots.
Do you have fine daggers? They're just standard.
No, I have a fine cover identity.
Okay. All right. So
I'll probably try and get. I was thinking about that. I'll probably try and get some fine knives after, like, for my next downtime.
Good project, yeah. All right. So are you going to take any extra dice?
Yeah, why not? I'll take one out of the pool I'll take one out of my own pool.
Okay.
My own consort help.
Oh, well, that's just for your effect. If you want to use, you can take one out of the gambit pool.
The gambit. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
That one. That's the one I'm trying to say. Okay.
All right.
That's a 1, a 4, and a 6. So
nice.
Thank you for that gambit.
Yeah. So tell me first of all, I want to know what Volette looks like as normal out on a heist, and kind of describe this, hair color, hairdo, clothing, everything, and tell us what happens.
Right. So Volette Moonstone is a Skovlander. She looks just like every other Skovlander. She's got kind of pale skin. Well, everybody has pale skin. There's no sun. Dark curly hair, dark brown eyes, and her hands constantly have the soot underneath, the coal dust that never washes away. And clothing-wise, she looks a lot like the mechanic from the Disney's Atlantis movie. It's very like basic turn of the century, slacks and a dirty white shirt and suspenders sort of situation. But for a special evening such as tonight, she puts on her Sunday best, so to speak, which in this case is actually just the exact same clothes but last year's, so they're just covered in the coal soot and there's nothing you can do to get it out, so it's fully black and she blends in with the night rather than having like a white shirt. And she's kind of smudged a little bit more coal like around her eyes, so she looks very like edgy as a teenager because she's quite young. But she's just got a lot. She just didn't bother washing the coal off today, is basically what she looks like. But it makes her very stealthy.
Amazing. And so now what happens? What do you do? What does that 6 mean?
So Benny knocks down the door. I am on the other side waiting. I feel like we do the like thing. He goes, I will like tuck and roll underneath him basically because I am smaller than Benny. He's a big guy. And just kind of roll off to the side, and then I'm going to skirt, like touch the wall of the building until I get a clearer view of these guys, and then just throwing knives directly at their throwing knife holes on their faces.
Great. But they're pointed at Benny, right? So you're behind them. Okay. Yeah. And are you hiding behind the barrels of oil or behind the goats, behind the hay?
I wasn't imagining the goats themselves were in here. That would be like a stable, right? I was imagining this was like the warehouse where they kind of keep supplies. You would not store your goat food and your goats in the same place because the goats would make sure you do not have goat food anymore.
That's very true. I like your logic.
So yeah, I'm behind like the hay barrels and like the sacks of barley and that sort of stuff is like sort of around, and she's like kind of comes out from behind a sack of barley with one knife and then like moves a little bit but doesn't go back and then has the other right away.
Gotcha. So yeah, wait, did you just knife each one?
It says throwing knives plural.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'll let that happen. I'll just keep track of that then. Yeah. So you like get them both, like you get one in the shoulder and one in like the lower back. They're like, ah. And so now they're like kind of like backs to each other. Like, where did he go? Who's next?
Just rolls her eyes. Where did he go? This is so sexist.
Benny kicked the door. So let me hear from the professor or from Arvis.
I am. Does Arvis need to move in closer?
I see 2 people pointing guns at me. Because this is happening in the moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to. In my vision, there are some vehicles to. What?
Do I know you as a ranged or a melee?
I'm Magic Man, and that's it. I am going to jump to the left, hopefully behind a vehicle.
Okay. Jump to the left, hopefully behind the vehicle.
Yep. I'm just trying to get out of line of sight.
Okay. I'll let that happen. It's just a matter of if it comes up in another roll from a consequence, if you're gonna be in sight, if you're gonna be out of sight or not, if something's gonna blow your cover. Do you want to do anything from behind the carriage?
Uh, I'm going to. Can I survey to see if I can find out which door leads to the stables?
Yeah, yeah. And from where you are, I'm going to call it risky. I'll call it risky standard. I'm feeling generous today.
I'm not going to be doing anything fancy with this roll.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
What did you?
I got a 2.
You got a 2. Okay. you do lean back, and you like kind of like poke your head, and there's gunshots starting. There's gunshots starting to fire. I think what makes sense in this is you peek your head out, and one of them like pops you in the shoulder for 2 harm, unless you resist.
I'm going to resist.
Okay.
And
Resist with prowess.
Do I have to use prowess?
You do. Because it's a physical like dodge.
In that case,
Resolve is for like spiritual harm.
yeah.
Like when you don't go to church on Sundays? What?
Yeah. Spiritual, yeah.
I guess I take the harm.
You take the harm? You're not going to roll?
I mean, I'm going to be rolling a negative. I have no prowess. I am Magic Man, and that's it.
You want? I mean, do you want the? Yeah, but you will resist. It's just a matter of how much stress you're going to take.
Yeah.
Would you
and
rather
then I'll
have
be
the
full on
stress than the harm? What's that?
Then I'll fill up on stress.
Because if you want to fill up, if you fill up on stress and take a trauma, that's another way to earn XP. And I've already said I'm not going to take you out of the fight. You just can't add dice. And then also, if you take the harm, your harm clock that you've been working on so hard resets.
Lucas, when you made your character, did you include our Renegade Special Crew ability?
What was that? Our crew didn't exist when I built my character.
When
I built my character, we did not have a crew.
Okay, so the carrying crew has a special ability called Renegades. Each PC may add +1 action rating to Finesse, Prowl, or Skirmish, up to a max of 3. Pick one of those. You will have 1 dot. Do your resistance roll.
Okay.
You can owe me personally.
Then finesse, and I'll roll for finesse. Or I guess roll for prowess.
Mm-hmm.
It's still I take 4 stress. I've gotten a trauma.
Okay. So you get to think about what trauma you take, but tell me how you dodged that bullet.
Well, I clearly wasn't very finesseful, so what was going to happen is I hear the gunshot, and my feet kind of just slip out from underneath me. And I just,
Great. Yeah, poor Arvis is in trouble over there. Professor, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna try and flank them the other side, since they're kind of a bit distracted. Use my fine pair of pistols and take a shot at each one.
Okay, fine pair of pistols. I like that. All right, so what action rating are you going to roll? What skill?
And did you add our Renegade special ability to your sheet? Because everybody make sure you do that now if you have not done it already. Give yourself another dot.
Yeah, I don't believe I have, because again, like Lucas, the crew didn't technically exist other than as a name when I made my character. So
And it's crazy. And you guys have the prowess
So
training
what am I
advanced
doing
too.
that to?
Say that again, Ned. Sorry.
Okay, so would I use hunt?
Yep. Hunt will
You
work.
absolutely could.
Hunt. I will call it risky standard, but your fine guns will give you +1 effect. Are you shooting one or are you shooting them both? Are you going in Jason Statham style?
I am shooting them both.
Okay. All right. Do you want to take the
So-
last remaining die in the gambit pool, spend stress, or take a devil's bargain to increase your dice pool?
So I'm at
Or if anyone can justify helping
Yeah.
with the professor.
So what does so I get 2 from hunt.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you click hunt,
Okay.
and then it's going to ask you for position or an effect, and you say risky, great.
Yeah.
And then do you want to add any bonus die from getting help from a friend, spending 2 stress, or taking the devil's bargain, or using the last die in the gambit pool?
Well, I'm going to spend 2 stress.
Okay, great. So now you got an extra.
Take it back.
You get an extra bonus die. All right, let's hear it.
Ooh. 2-1-2.
Oh no. So you kind of so what does that look like? Like how does you don't quite get what you want. What do you think? I'll let you decide.
Are you shooting
Not
at the guards
being
that
used
I'm
to-
directly behind?
Yeah. Well, I was moving to the right so you wouldn't be directly behind. Kind of getting to their side.
I think we know who actually
But
shot.
not being used to being in a barn setting, I'm not used to being aware of manure on the ground and kind of like slipped on the manure and just like fell to the ground as I was shooting.
Okay. I think it would be fun to say that rather than getting hurt yourself, that maybe a stray bullet lights some of this oil on fire, and we have like a fire breaking out between the hay and the oil, and it's getting warm. And
That was inevitable.
I'm gonna start I'll call it like a 6 o'clock before people start taking harm. And I'm not feeling it. I'm just starting it. So shit's
Just
on fire.
So we're clear, I wasn't interested in the oil from Molotov cocktails. Mostly it's so that other Scotlanders can use it to keep warm during the winter. But there
All right.
would be like a little Molotov cocktail as a treat. So
So
Molotov shot.
Benny, you kicked in the door. Arvis did a face plant behind a carriage. The guys are like kind of spread out because of Valette. They got cute little Scotlander knives sticking out the back, and the professor thought he was being all cool coming in with 2 guns and just slipped on a pile of goat shit. What are you doing?
Besides hearing Benny Hill music, yeah, Benny's like, fine. So Benny will draw his hog splitter.
Great.
And he is going to basically just storm their pitiful little barricade and see if he can lop some faces.
Okay. I think you taking a knife to a gunfight. What action roll are you gonna wear? What action are you gonna roll? What skill?
I think in this case, since Benny is going for speed to close the distance, I was going to go with skirmish.
Okay. All right. Taking a knife to a gunfight makes it a desperate roll, but I'm gonna call it a standard effect.
Okay.
So don't forget to mark your experience.
And
do you want to take any extra die? You got a one in the gambit pool. You got you can take help from a friend, push yourself, take a devil's bargain.
What's the effect of a fine weapon? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, if it's fine, then it's just +1 effect. That just means you just hurt them more. It doesn't help you land it. It just helps you.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly what it was. I will go ahead and say that it is a fine hog splitter. But no, otherwise, I think I'll just stick with the dice I've got.
Okay.
I am actually pretty good at skirmishing.
So standard. So then it'll be standard. Then it'll be standard. It'll be risky, great effect.
You said risky or desperate?
Desperate. Sorry, you're right. I said desperate. Desperate, great effect.
Well, here goes.
Can I use sharpshooter to unleash a barrage of rapid fire to suppress the enemy?
You can. Let's see what Benny does first.
353.
Okay. So tell us what Benny looks like loaded for bear.
So Benny is, as Violet's pointed out, a rather large individual. And what has been, mistaken as for, like some decorative spots on his jacket in the past, he's actually taken cast iron plates and has hooked them onto his jacket, essentially forming a sort of splint mail or scale mail. He's wearing a essentially a steel miner's helmet, but there's a chainmail mask protecting his face. And he kind of looks like a just a moving mass of metal.
Iron Man.
Pretty much. Diesel punk Iron Man. And yeah, he's just essentially once the door gets kicked in, everybody scatters. He just storms straight across at full speed towards these two poor bastards hiding behind this card table. And as big as he is and as heavily armored as he is, I figure you could almost feel the ground shake as he runs them down.
So you just like end one of them. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, Benny, as he comes up on him, he doesn't even really pause for the card table. He just plows into it, and as the two guys behind him reel back, he just brings the hog splitter up over his head and down, and splits one of them pretty much from crown to sternum.
And between that, if you want, Ned, you can spin that to stress, and we'll call that suppressing fire. And this other guy is just terrified. So is just like watches this happen and is just terrified and freezes in place. Follette, what would you like to do?
The fire breaks out, and you hear from behind some grain, "You have got to be kidding me!" As we are in the process of trying to bring the carriages in this carriage house with us and not burn them to the ground. So I am going to... What is around that I can put the fire out with? I'm gonna go... I know what I'm gonna do. If there is stuff for goats in here, then one of these things is going to be a barrel of water for the goats. Because they can't just drink the river water.
Yep.
the goats will die. So there, somewhere in here is a barrel of water. So Valette is just gonna start just pushing any barrel she can find over. I'm perfectly comfortable calling this a wreck, and I am trying. Okay, I say any barrel I can find. Valette is smart. She would know the difference between an oil barrel and a water barrel, right? So the ones that are labeled with the big fire on it,
The black ones.
right? We're not going to push those ones over. But I mean, any other barrel that, like, maybe some of them have grain in them, maybe some of them have water, maybe they're pickles. I don't know. Those ones we're going to push over.
And this district smelled like pickles for years afterwards.
But the really would not be the first time.
I don't think it's quite a desperate roll, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to start a 4 o'clock, and we'll just call it risky standard wreck. Do you want to spend that little gambit? You also have, if you can figure out a way to use your setup move in flashback to justify having a better result, but you got to fill 4 ticks on that clock.
Absolutely. So we are smugglers, you see, and sometimes that means we smuggle contraband, but when things can be slow, sometimes we are just normal transportation through the city, like what a trucker would be, basically. A gig is a gig, even if they're not exciting. So I know which kinds of barrels is what in this place because we've transported them. That's my flashback.
Let's see it. Let's see the roll.
So I'm gonna. What would you call that then? So I've got 2d6 in wreck. I'm not sure what that flashback would add. Would it add to the effect, or would I add a die?
We'll call it risky standard. If you want, you can push yourself for more. You can push yourself for. You can trade for desperate. Great. And then
Desperate Great sounds perfect because I want XP, but 2, I want great effect because I want this fire gone. And how many stress for that flashback, by the way?
I'm not going to charge you for the. Well, if you want to make a flashback, pay me 1 stress and roll an appropriate skill.
Roll an appropriate skill for the flashback. Okay.
Yeah, that qualifies.
I would assume that is Prowl would be the flashback one. So let me just roll that real quick.
Okay.
That's a 2 and a 1 on that Prowl.
Okay, so you really only get, but you spend a stress, you really get +1 effect. So you've got, so now you're desperate great +1. Do you want to add dice?
All right.
Let's see how it goes.
I'm rolling wreck to hopefully do the opposite.
I think we know what crit.
Double ones.
Oh.
I think we all know what this means.
Oh no.
Well,
double ones. Oh my god.
You knock over some water, like you knock
My
over some
dice
grain.
tonight.
But one of those barrels knocks over another barrel, knocks over another barrel.
That wasn't
And,
water.
like,
It was
half-
vodka.
Half the warehouse goes up in flames. Arvis, what do you want to do? You're like pulling yourself together here.
I am
You're
trying to find the goats so that way we have some mode of transportation. Studying or survey didn't work, so I'm going to use the only other thing I have. I'm going to attempt to compel the spirit of a goat to lead me to the goats.
Amazing.
This is very on brand for us, and I was wondering when the ghosts would come in.
Yeah. Let's see. Violence, chaos, and ghosts. Yeah, that's pretty much us.
I mean, I already did in a tune, but
So you're rolling what?
I'm using a tune, and I'm using my compel ability, which you can attune to the ghost field to force a nearby ghost to appear and obey a command you give it. I'm not terrified by the ghost, but my companions may be. Depends. Are you guys terrified of goats?
And then
I
I
were
think you,
I'd be really ticked off if you summoned me just for the purpose of finding goats.
I think you roll a tune, right?
Yep.
Give it. Do you want to add any dice? You got a cool tool. You got one in the gambit. You don't have any stress to spend. Can anybody spend stress to help you?
I don't know what Benny would be able to do to help him.
Can I my Fire and Spirit Mask help me on this?
It'll give you better effect. Is really what it
Okay.
does. And so yeah, it will. Yeah. I mean, everybody's got a tune, Benny. You have a tune. You have the sight. Like you know how to do it. If there's a way.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I know.
What's my position?
I'm just gonna call it risky for now. I'm just gonna call it risky standard,
Okay.
and it'll be just like kind of a pass-fail situation. So yeah, let's.
Well, theoretically, compel means can compel fail if it's a special ability.
It can if we're rolling. I mean, I'd have to probably look. I'd have to look up the rule.
Okay.
Like if it's
The ability
have to
part
push
of it
yourself.
would, like, the ghost would show up. It would listen to you.
I
Yeah.
mean, it
The
might
part that
listen
would
to
fail
me,
would be the part of, like, maybe this ghost doesn't know where the other goats are.
or it
Maybe
just
this
like
ghost
goes.
leads you to the food.
Maybe it goes through a wall.
Maybe goes through a wall. Like, it will go wrong in other ways besides
Okay.
just it doesn't show up.
You can give it a general or specific command. You can attune to the ghost field to force a nearby ghost to appear. So you can.
Okay.
So yeah, I would call for a second roll if there weren't any ghosts around. But there are. I'm actually going to call it a desperate roll because the ghosts that are around and getting into the city are not cool. So but you will get great effect. So desperate, great effect. Do you want to spend the last die in the gambit pool?
I don't know if a goat's really worth it.
And we're getting on the 5-minute warning. I do want to get
Okay.
around to stars and wishes. Let's see what happens.
I'll just go for it without the gambit.
All right. Give it to me.
2-3.
It's not the blue pale ghost that you're used to seeing. Like, Benny, tell me what a green ghastly ghost from the Deadlands looks like as it comes ripping through.
All right. So what you ended up pulling up has been dead for long enough that it has forgotten that it was once human, and
Or goat.
The goat
Or
was
ghost.
human.
it has. It's incorporated bits and pieces of all the dead things that exist in this area, and it's sort of taken this sort of hybrid, half rotting, half skeletal form that sort of vaguely resembles a Wendigo with a half staved in goat skull with this for a head with this one like balefully glowing green eye.
And maybe hands, legs, and hooves,
Just from
and eels.
things, yeah, like there are eel skeletons and things we don't even can't even quite identify making up this thing. Is it almost seems like it rips reality open next to you.
And it and it's howling. There's like this like gaping like half goat, half human, half demon mouth that's and it's like letting out this horrible sound. Everybody's covering their ears. The veil that was protecting the place is just shattered. And it's just gone from bad to worse. It's like, are you guys going to bail on the score and not get paid, or is there something you can do to say you did the job?
Well, it depends on what the purpose of the package was.
If it was to cause problems, we have succeeded.
So, I mean, I know what Benny thinks what the package was, so unless anyone has any objections.
I mean, in my defense, I'm not terrified of ghosts.
Volette calls over to you and says, I don't know what that thing is, but we should just hand him the package to deliver and then go.
Here. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Does somebody want to make? So I want one more roll, and then we'll close. We'll figure out how you guys get there. We'll just like screen wipe to you guys getting the hell out of here.
What kind of role would you like?
Who's making the move, and what does it look like?
I imagine.
Who's got the box?
Per usual, I imagine it's either going to be Benny or Violette, as we're the ones that went and got it. I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Benny's usually the one that's carrying something someone might kill to get. So, I mean, I would suspect Benny probably has it.
All right, Lucas. What makes this box look particularly spooky looking?
I'm imagining it to be like a wooden style jewelry box. However, on the lid, there's an engraving, and it's a scarab similar to the one we saw before, except for the wings fold together on the back to make like a skull face.
Ooh.
That actually pipes in with what I think it is.
Pretty metal.
Okay. I think.
Oh Lord.
I think at the risk of like dominating like what like actually happens, I think does somebody want to decide what's
Just say it. Just go for it. Just do it.
so the box, you put the box down and it starts to unfold like in these parts, and like there's more box than should be allowed. It's like turns into this, whoever the guy is that did all the stairs, like it turns into this, it starts to turn into this like wooden like automaton with like a green, like a piece of blue glowing glass, but this green monstrous poltergeist thing just slurps into that glass.
Oh no.
And all you hear is just this agonizing scream of like what you know is like a regular old Duskfall ghost. It sounds of terror coming out of this thing as this large wooden steampunk diesel punk wooden robot is like writhing in pain, and eventually
we are leaving.
So you leave the burning warehouse. The box is there. You did the job. You're gonna get bad props from the Red Sashes, but you didn't make it out with 4 carriages or a boat. Stars and Wishes. Lucas, what did you like about this game?
I like that the attune worked. Like everything seemed to go really well at the beginning, and then it just devolved.
Yeah. Flip further and further. Ned, what did you like about this game? Favorite moments, or what is something you like?
Yeah, I mean, just the Benny Hill style of us coming through the door was just classic.
Great.
I mean, you just had this big monster break down the door, and then the 2 backups just flopping on the ground next to him.
Great. Jenna, what did you like about this game?
My stars and wishes are the opposite of Lucas's. At the beginning, I was like, we need to pick up the pace here. We're not going to get to the end if we keep going this slow. And then towards the end, I was like, yes, this is where we need to be. I think that failure is really fun. It adds a lot of narrative drama, and consequences mean that there will be more narrative drama later, so I'm totally down for that. I am always concerned how we sort of like kind of slowly ease into a score, which is normal and fine if you have a 4-hour session, but we have a 2-hour session, so you can't ease in like this. You gotta go.
Yeah.
And that's not always what people are used to. It is one of the things about streaming that's different. So as someone who streams all the time, I'm a little bit more cognizant of that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that just to be aware of. But once we started lighting things on fire.
So we should just start with things on fire. Okay.
You know, honestly, with that engagement roll, I really thought that we were going to start with things on fire.
Yeah, and that's inherent in the rules, is that, like, yeah, it really just dictates the first roll. There are no pieces on the board when you start the score. However, that should be a thing. I'm writing it down, Jenna. It's great feedback.
Every AP I have ever watched, the engagement roll tells you what kind of position you're in. So if you start with an engagement roll that's at a 1, it's like, oh, the blue coats come around the corner and they weren't supposed to be here or something. Like there's some like complication that happened. That's something that you and I can talk about later off screen.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of shows that kind of set it up that way.
That's a
So
good point.
My,
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's sort of my normal.
Okay. Benny, what'd you like?
Just the sheer chaos that always seems to follow this group. Benny's pretty much reaction to this entire escapade at the end is, would you three stop helping?
Okay, great. Then what? All right, wishes. I'll start with you. I'll start with you, Chad. What what do you wish were different? Want to see more of? Wish you did differently? Anything on your wish list?
No, not really. I mean, I'm similar to Jenna in that I've got, some less streaming but more podcasting background. So yeah, I'm a little more cognizant of the time. But again, but I really, off the top of my head right now, I can't think of a whole lot. No matter how badly things go, I just enjoy the chaos.
Great. Ned, I'm kind of going in like sort semi-reverse. Ned, what? Because I heard yours already, Jenna. Ned, what do you wish was different, or wish you did differently, or want to see more of?
Well, kind of getting used to the character. I probably would have made different decisions on how to work with the group. But I think as I grow with the group and know their play style and moving forward, I'll probably do things a little differently.
Okay, great. Lucas, things you want to see more of, wish were different. What's on your wish list?
Personally, I wish I was a little bit less hesitant, and I think my trauma will be that after seeing in mild surprise and bemusement of what he just summoned, my character's trauma will be recklessness.
Wow.
And therefore, more stuff may occur.
Great.
Actually, I will add one slight thing is that I do enjoy the relationship that's developed between Benny and Jenna as far as being crew members.
I like that.
We work well together, I think.
I agree.
The violent one and the crafty one. It works.
The crafty and violent one.
Very of mice and men.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and his name is Benny. Oh
no. Well, that's all I got. I've been James. Jenna, say any last words?
I don't believe so. Join us on Sunday for The Expanse. Yes, that's the one. And then after that, it's Random Sunday. Who knows what's going to happen? There will be more Blades later. Just later. Okay, that's it. Say bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.